Hey Reddit. What was your worst hotel stay experience and what made it so terrible? Hey, subscribe to support us. And share your horrifying hotel story in the comments. My dad went to a hotel once and checked into a first-floor room. He went in the room, put his stuff down, opened the curtains, and a man was hiding there. My dad went, "Excuse me," closed the curtains, got his stuff and left. Went to the front desk to explain that a man was hiding in his room. Turns out the guy had just robbed a place and somehow got into the room with an open window. The bathroom locked from the outside. If you accidentally shut the door all the way, you had to have someone in the room open the door for you when you were done. If you were by yourself, you were sole until someone came back, or you called the front desk from the bathroom to send someone up. This was pre-mainstream cell phone usage, so you may not have had your phone on you at all times. Needless to say, we got our stay comped. Motel 7 in El Paso had a software problem. Lost track of occupied rooms. Rather than checking, they issued keys to possibly occupied rooms and waited to see if anyone complained. I twice opened my new hotel room door to find other guests in there. Jesus. Getting stuck in an elevator with 2 children under the age of 6 for 3 hours. You know that little emergency phone they have in elevators? Well, it turns out they connect you to some idiot sitting in an office somewhere who does not even have any know-how or tools to do anything to help. The moron I talked to had no idea of that elevator or town I was in, and no idea of how to contact the hotel or 911 in the area. The only help he offered was to tell us to ring the alarm bell until staff responded. Then he hung up on us. Well, after ringing the bell for a good 20 minutes, a staff member did investigate. It turned out we were stuck between floors. She managed to pry open the doors from her side. She told us that since it was a Sunday evening, and we were in a remote place, nobody would be available to fix the elevator until Monday. As a last resort, my kids, my wife and I all had to squeeze through a narrow gap between the floor of the building and the roof of the elevator. Had that elevator decided to keep going down at the wrong moment, we would have been chopped in half. What did the hotel do about it? Absolutely nothing. At least until I wrote a bad review online. Then they contacted me and offered a free night for a future stay. After I expressed my opinion regarding that idea, they relented and refunded some of my money. I stayed at a travel lodge a few years back. Went to get into bed and there was a blood stain on the sheet right in the middle of the bed. Pulled the sheet back and there was a huge puddle of it on the mattress. Still wet. Not nice. The air conditioner was spitting out ice while I was sleeping. Woke up thinking I wet myself, but then realized half the bed was soaked. Other than that, it was fine. Went to a historic hotel in Chattanooga. TN. Walked in the room. Blood everywhere. The bathtub. The curtains. The walls. Floor. Lamp. Everywhere. Hotel refused to move us. We moved ourselves to a different hotel that night. I needed to find a hotel in Dayton. Oh, because of my daughter's gymnastics competition. I read online reviews and the travel lodge there got good reviews. The price was good too. So I booked it. I had difficulty finding it because it was dark and the sign wasn't lit. Parking lot was pitch black. Just outside the entrance there were 2 sketchy guys that looked like they were negotiating a drug deal. Inside the motel lobby was dimly lit with flickering lights. The room was no better. Stained sheets, holes in the bedspread and hair in the shower. The fitness room consisted of a stair stepper that was broken and an old TV on the ground that was also broken. I told the front desk that I wanted to cancel our reservation. She said, "I don't blame you. This place is gross. I had an eye interview at Kohl's and hope they hire me so I can quit this place." Checked into a casino hotel in Shreveport. Put our stuff in the room and then went to the casino. Came back hours later and could not get into our room. Traipsed to the front desk to find out why the card key was not working. Was informed that our room had to be exterminated due to an infestation. When I inquired what type of infestation, I was told that the desk clerk was not allowed to divulge that information. Got hotel manager and he led us back to our room. Let us in and the place was tossed, furniture overturned, mattress off of bed, etc. There was out luggage and belongings pretty much where we left them. Manager then took us to our new room and gave us the key cards for it. I asked, how the hell do you check someone into a room then discover it is infested with whatever? He was unable to adequately answer my question. I asked him about what type of extermination chemicals they used because our stuff had been exterminated as well. He again could not comment. Wound up throwing out any consumables. Didn't wear anything from our luggage and checked out early the next morning. Never to return again to that hotel. When we got home, washed everything in the hottest water available. As an aside, itched for a couple of days afterward, but this was probably power of suggestion. Happened over Christmas time in China. Came back to the hotel after dropping my boyfriend off at the airport, so was clearly not in the best mood, only to find a lot of my belongings moved around the room and items missing, including my passport. There was food that she moved into the bathroom. My deodorant was in the shower and my shower gel was on the TV cabinet. Things were taken out of my suitcase and other items were put into my suitcase. Jewelry was on the floor, etc. Just really random stuff had been moved. I had to go to reception and try to speak Mandarin I was studying and explain the situation. My passport was the main issue and I managed to get it back, but I had gifts from my mum that were thrown out. Turns out the cleaner had taken my passport with the sheets to the laundry room, which is crazy as it was actually in a cupboard, no safe available. Checked out 2 weeks early and got a refund for all the missing items, as she admitted to throwing them away, but she wouldn't say anything about why she had gone through my things or why she had moved anything. Drove halfway across Florida and collapsed into bed in an Econo Lodge in Crystal River. Noticed a funky smell coming from around the headboard. I lifted the mattress and found a used condom. The toilet overflowed so exuberantly I leaped up to the edge of the bathtub to escape the flow. Then there was the tricky matter of getting from the bathtub to anywhere else without stepping in lake toilet. Not really a bad experience. But once I stayed in a hotel where the hot and cold water feeds for the room were plumbed the wrong way round. The water in the toilet bowl was boiling hot and kind of steamed your butt when you used it. Not the worst. But the TV in my room turned on by itself at 4 a.m. There's no way I could have done it myself. I just plugged it out. Thought about it for a few minutes. Then went back to sleep. A few years ago I was staying at a hotel on the Las Vegas Strip and they had construction going on. Construction-related faulty wiring or something kept causing the alarm to go off, false alarm, and periodically a recorded voice would say there was some kind of incident and to stay in your room until otherwise notified. All night long. Couldn't get any sleep and had to get up early and work all day. I was dragging. I caught an Uber to my Airbnb, which was a little guest house next to the host's main house in Florida. I guess they were confused about hearing a car pull up but seeing an empty driveway. I was confused because they forgot to put toilet paper in the bathroom. We were both confused when they walked into the guest house to see me butt naked walking across the living room to get some paper napkins from the kitchen. We, of course, both rated each other 5/5 stars. At the peak of Comdex's popularity in Las Vegas, I got stuck at the Tropicana. In those days, the infrastructure in Vegas couldn't handle the Comdex influx. My flight landed at midnight. But it took me until 4 a.m. to get to the hotel and wait through a 300-person line at the front desk. When I finally collapsed in my bed and entered that hazy, almost asleep state, it occurred to me that I was wet. Why should I be wet? I thought hazily. Then my eyes snapped open. I should not be wet. I jumped out of bed and pulled the covers back to see that piss had soaked out of the mattress. And the sheets were soaked and yellow with it. Clearly the maids had realized that the previous guest had pissed the bed, as they had placed a towel under the fitted sheet. So, yeah, I had been lying in someone else's piss. By the way, this was my second room, as the first room they gave me a key to was occupied by a startled man in his tighty-whities. On a work trip I was put in the most disgusting hotel room, to the point where I didn't feel comfortable and couldn't sleep. A pile of dirt and dust in the corner that I imagine would take years to accumulate. Brown stains on the lampshades. Food under the bed. Water damage in the pictures in picture frames. The whole room smelt moldy. The hairdryer was sticky. TV remote was sticky and covered in food. Stuff all over the walls. Hair in the shower. The toilet bowl was stained red. Everything felt gross and grimy. Hot water didn't work in my room. Cold showers. Anyone? I felt like a walking zombie that work trip. It felt so disgusting I really couldn't sleep. My coworker in the next room over, his room door didn't fully shut, and he used the latch at the top to close it. The door was still open a couple inches and he put a chair in front of the door. And didn't sleep at all that trip either. Williston, North Dakota. In the year 2000, construction workers showed up at 11 p.m. and began noisily doing work, talking loudly, right outside our room. After I complained to the front desk, they got nasty and pounded on the walls of our room. Stayed at a Holiday Inn in Toronto and the rooms around us were doing something, a party, or dealing drugs or something, but a lot of noise. A lot of people coming and going and a lot of people slamming doors. We called front desk a dozen times and they didn't do anything. Kicked them out, moved them to another floor. Something. I shouldn't leave a hotel wishing I had just driven home instead. Incredibly frustrating. I have a pretty low bar for hotels. I want a comfy bed and some quiet so I can sleep. That's it. Don't care that much about Wi-Fi, TV, fancy amenities, etc. I'm just here for a good night's sleep. And I don't think we went longer than 30 minutes with a wall-shaking door slam. Wifey and I were on a road trip before Google Maps. And it was late at night. Part 1. We found a hotel brochure at a roadside rest stop. And called to book a room. Probably a Holiday Inn or something. When we got to the hotel, which was about 10 kilometers off the highway, it seemed nice and we checked in. We get in the elevator and the door opens on our floor. There was one giant prom party going on with kids, music, and booze everywhere. We didn't even get off the elevator. Fortunately the staff was understanding. But it was already late and we had to move on. Part 2. Later that night we found a hojo and pulled in. We get to the desk absolutely exhausted. Like 2 a.m. at this point. The attendant was this young man. He was on the phone, clearly being broken up with. The call went on for at least 20 minutes. And he was very upset. He finished with, "Well, I hope you have a nice life too." But eventually he finished his call and let us book a room. I stayed in a place in Port Talbot in Wales, UK to break up a long drive. It was about what you'd imagine a cheap hotel would be like in Port Talbot. Air smelled like depression and hopelessness. Bathroom had multiple cigarette burns and it was just generally run down. Function room was more of a local bar and had live music playing. So it was just really loud until quite late. Didn't get murdered in my sleep though, so it all worked out.